Mr. Clerk, the time is 6 p.m. I'm going to call the special meeting of council to order. Town of Aurora acknowledges that the Anishinaabe lands on which we live and work are the traditional and treaty territory of the Chippewas of Georgina Island, as well as many other nations whose presence here continues to this day. As the closest First Nation community to Aurora, we recognize the special relationship the Chippewas have with the lands and waters of this territory. They are the water protectors and environmental stewards of these lands, and as a municipality, we join them in these responsibilities. We further acknowledge that Aurora is part of the treaty lands of the Mississaugas and Chippewas recognized through Treaty Number 13, as well as the Williams Treaties of 1923. Shared understanding of the rich cultural heritage that has existed for centuries and how our collective past brought us to where we are today will help us walk together into a better future. Yeah, a motion to approve the agenda. Councillor Kim, Councillor Gillan, any comments or questions? Call the vote. Councillor Gillan? Councillor Gillan's yes. Councillor Gaertner? Councillor Gaertner's yes. That carries. Any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. No delegations. Moved into proposed budget amendments. 7.1, Councillor Gaertner. This is yours. Would you like to move it? Is there a seconder? Councillor Gillan. Go ahead, Councillor Gaertner.
Go ahead. Thank you. Yeah, I would like to make sure that Victoria Hall is taken care of structurally. But I don't want to do anything else at this point until we just decide, is there a use for it? What that would be, what the income would be, what the expenses would be. So I would just like to move that we do the structural restoration that it needs.
Any other comments, questions?
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to say that the project is $500,000. So like just to make sure it's in good shape, and that's all.
Any other comments, questions? Call the vote. Councillor Weiss. Councillor Gaertner. Councillor Gaertner's yes. Councillor Weiss, did you get your vote in? You're a yes. Pardon? Restart. Have to restart it. If everyone can do their vote again, there was a glitch in the. Councillor Gillan. Councillor Gaertner. Councillor Gaertner's yes. Councillor Thompson. It's not showing up. Councillor Thompson's yes. It carries. Councillor Gaertner, next one. Would you like to move it? Seconder. Councillor Kim, go ahead, Councillor Gaertner.
Ms. McDougall, were you able to check and see if we used all of the money that we put towards this in last year's budget?
Ms. McDougall.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor. On last year's budget, we didn't quite use it all, but the history of the spend fluctuates year over year, depending on the need. For example, in 22, we only spent 20,000. 23, we only spent 8,000. And 24, I know we got 12 spin bikes, 31, thank you. So we're very diligent, staff are determining what needs to be replaced and when, based on their wear and tear, based on the level of maintenance and how much maintenance we have had to do and repair on different pieces of assets. And we certainly just don't go on life cycle alone. We definitely look at the utilization. This year's ask contains treadmills. Treadmills are one of our most popular assets in that facility. They do get a lot of wear and tear. In fact, we've had them down. We're running into an issue where some of the repairs of equipment are taking longer than expected, so they sit out of service for quite some time. So again, the ask of this year is just to make sure that we're keeping up with the repair and maintenance, but when it gets to a point where we feel we're starting to surpass the need, it's time to replace. And in this case, these treadmills and these other pieces of equipment that are noted here, we're well past life cycle. We're into their extended life at this point, and we're at risk of having higher repairs required for the facility. So we'd like to move forward with these requests.
Councillor.
How much is left in the budgets that we've previously approved?
Ms. Mayor Van Kessel.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there's 13,400 remaining, and that would be at the end of 2024.
Councillor.
Thank you. I know from being there that, you know, as a fitness person, that the treadmills are an issue. I do remember one that was out of service for quite a while. So are you planning through you, Mr. Mayor, are you planning to replace all of the treadmills?
Ms. McDougall.
Through Mr. Mayor, replacing all four the treadmills, as well as some other pieces of equipment. The treadmills themselves are from 2017. And the other pieces of equipment proposed on in the submission are 2014. So they're almost 10 years old. So we feel like those in particular that we've listed here, we're at a point where it's important to make a change before they really seriously break down.
Councillor.
Of course, I don't know all the ins and outs of the equipment. And of course, we need to keep things, well, especially safe. And with respect to the treadmills, it's just that one that I remember that was out of service for so long. The others seem to be fine. I trust that you'll use your expertise only to replace what we certainly need to replace. I mean, this is not an upscale gym. No. And when that treadmill was broken, I seemed to be the only one who was annoyed with it because it was the one that I like to use. But, you know, our clientele there is not expecting high-end service. And I think we need to keep that in mind as a community gym. Thank you.
Councillor Weiss.
Yeah, thank you. Through you to Ms. McDougall also. Could you give me an idea of the amount of money out of this that's being done for those electronic equipment? Because I realize, and I know for sure that they have problems, and sometimes they end up costing us more in maintenance than they do in replacement. So that's not a problem, but you've got weight machines or weights in there and they're not very descriptive about what's being done. And I'm wondering what the difference is if it's a smaller amount versus a higher amount. Could you answer me that a bit?
Mr. McDougall?
Sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, could I just clarify? You're asking what our cost of repairs have been?
No, I'm asking what with this request that you have, what percentage of it is on the usually more expensive cardio equipment versus the other equipment that you have identified with weights, because weights tend not to break down very often. So they could be weight machines. I don't know.
Mr. McDougall?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, looking at our budget for these items that are listed, and I would suggest half, more than half, is on the treadmills alone.
Councillor?
So there's no thoughts here through you of just slicing out half of that, the weights, but you're sure that the weight are these weight machines or weights themselves? Are you that granular with this budget? Thank you.
Mr. McDougall?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So the treadmills and the arc trainer are the cardio pieces of equipment.
Yeah.
Electronic. The other pieces that are on our list here are weight machines that are not dumbbells and free weights, but they are machines.
Okay, so they're mechanical and they
Mechanical,
require.
not
Okay.
power.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions to this one? Just a reminder, everyone, we're calling a vote to remove this from the budget. So I'll call a vote. Councillor Gaertner? Councillor Gaertner is a no. That amendment's defeated. Councillor Gaertner, next one. Would you like to move it? Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Gilbank, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Gaertner.
I've just been over to the youth room. The floor is in good shape. I didn't look at the walls. One of the sofas certainly needs replacing. And there's a couple of chairs that look extremely well used. But I doubt if the youth would care much about it. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Ms. McDougall, do we have any idea how many youth use that room?
Ms. McDougall?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, this room is utilized now as, in addition to as a youth loft, youth center. It is also used for additional programming, especially during the day. So to break that down by youth, it's not a dedicated space just for youth anymore. So with the staff's data they've collected, they confirm approximately, depending on the season, approximately 110 to 150 people in that space on a weekly basis, utilizing the various pieces either of equipment or the flooring. There could be meetings in there. Certainly fitness programs have been in there. It's not just use. So there's definitely wear and tear through the week at all hours of the day, depending on the use.
Council.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Ms. McDougall, there is a dedicated staff who sits there at a desk while it's open those 10 hours as the loft. Is that person not keeping stats on how many youth attend?
Ms. McDougall?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm having that question asked of us today. My team pulled the number I've given you. I could certainly get that to you, but it wouldn't be in time for your just deliberations today.
Council.
Thank you. And as I'm, excuse me, quite familiar with that room because I'm often there on Friday evening or Thursday, I see very few kids there. And the way the report is written, I doubt if refreshing the room is going to bring more youth in. Of course, I don't sit there every time the kids are there, but it's with respect to the other things that we do in that room, I think it's mostly yoga and activities like that. I can't see spending that much money on the youth room. The kids are going to come or not going to come. They don't care about the furniture. They don't care about the flooring and how the walls are painted. And I'd also like to congratulate myself because I had raised the possibility of using that space with one of our former staff for different kinds of activities that you're now using it for. So thank you. And he told me that if we used it for anything other than youth, then we wouldn't be considered a youth-friendly community. So I think it's a large space and I think it's a good space to use, and 10 hours a week that it's open for the youth, and maybe, I don't know how many hours during the day for other activities. I think it's well used, but the floor is, unless you're looking for a wood floor, the floor is in very good shape. So I stand with my amendment.
Any other comments or questions? All vote. Councillor Gallo? Oh, did you go through it? Councillor Gaertner? Councillor Gaertner's yes. That's defeated. Councillor Gaertner, next one. Just want to move that? Thank you. Seconder?
Could the screen be moved up, please, Mr. Mayor?
Sure. A seconder? Councillor Gallo, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor.
I'm a little confused about this. I did speak with through you, Mr. Mayor, I did speak with Ms. McDougall. This is a taught preschool room, and the profile says that we need to refresh it so the tots and the preschoolers will keep coming. I don't think the tots or the preschoolers particularly care how the room looks. But added to this is the fact that we now have a dividing wall, a movable dividing wall. And so the thought is that this could be used now that we have we're going to have the new gym, that we could make better use of this space with the dividing wall. Have I said that through Mr. Mayor to Ms. McDougall?
Ms. McDougall?
Through Mr. Mayor, I'll address the dividing wall part first. The dividing wall was part of the SARC Gymnasium Addition project scope. And that was to help with additional program space for anyone, not just these preschoolers. It's for anyone renting the space, could utilize it as a programmable, rentable space. So the preschool initiative would be in half of the room, while something else could be in the other half. What's before you today is to refresh some of that equipment that we've been using in that space for many years. It's getting tired and old and worn. In certain areas, we have to just chuck it without being able to replace it without the funds. There are also new cleaning procedures that we're trying to follow since COVID. And there's certain equipment that we feel is not suitable. So we have to let it go. We've got to buy something that is more easily cleaned, sanitized. With that, just to confirm, preschool alone, utilizing the preschool equipment, there's about 180 children every week that goes through that space, and the wear and tear on that equipment is heavy with obviously the use that they have. So that is just an opportunity for us to improve some of the equipment that's there, that's dated. Some of it's getting worn and torn, and it's time for an upgrade for those pieces because it's been a long time.
Council?
Through Mr. Mayor, do we charge for that? It's like a babysitting room. Do we charge for that? How much do we charge?
Google.
Oh, it doesn't
Through Mr.
matter.
Mayor, I don't have that.
But
information.
wouldn't, through Mr. Mayor, wouldn't the fees of the users take care of any refresh that we wanted to do?
Ms. McDougall? Or Ms. Wainwright, I guess.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so the fees that would be contributed from the users would be already included in the operating budget. So that contributes to reducing the overall levy in the operating budget. They are not necessarily directly linked to a capital contribution specific for that item. The operating budget itself contributes funds to the capital asset management.
Council.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Mayor, again, do we have any idea how much extra money that dividing the space in half and using it, only half of it for tots would bring in?
Ms. McDougall?
Through Mr. Mayor, I don't, again, that's part of the SARC gymnasium business plan. I don't have that information in front of me. I apologize. I wasn't thinking that would be part of your inquiry. I apologize.
Neither was I. Okay.
Council.
Thank you. That's all.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Call the vote. Councilor Gaertner?
No.
Ms. Gaertner's a no. That's defeated. Mr. Gaertner, next one, 7.5, Yonge Street Plaza repairs. Did you want to move that?
I do.
Thank you, seconder. Mr. Gallo, thank you. Councilor Gaertner, go ahead.
Do you have, does anyone have any idea how much money this plaza generates?
Ms. Wainwright Van Kessel.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we need to look it up.
So when we, so we bought this building, it was in okay shape. So I'm not sure, but has it deteriorated that much that we need to spend this much money on it?
Mr. McDougall.
Through Mr. Mayor, just some comments from my team in relation to the plaza itself. Currently there are 2 ground floor units that are experiencing water infiltration through the foundation. This will require investigation and excavation, waterproofing, and additionally, we continue to repair roof leaks as only one section has been replaced. We did do one section, but there's many rooftops. And then remainder would be for the roofs as they are past their life expectancy.
Council.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Any other comments, questions? Councilor Gallo.
Thank you. While not ideal, if the purpose is to do something else with that property, I think we have a responsibility to those tenants to make sure the facility is operating properly and certainly not leaking or any water penetration. So I don't think we have a choice but to repair and spend this money to make sure our tenants are kept in good standing as best we can. I'll leave it at that.
Any other comments, questions? Call the vote. Councilor. You vote, how do you vote?
Right.
Just need your vote, Councilor.
My vote is no.
No? You hit the wrong one, Councilor? Yeah. That's defeated. I'm gonna chalk that up as a 7-0. Next one, Councillor Gaertner, this one, if you'd want to withdraw it, it was a contingent upon grant funding. We just found out we did not receive the grant funding, so therefore we will not be moving forward with that. So there's no need for the amendment at this point in time. So you okay to withdraw that? Okay, thank you. So we'll move to 7.7. This one's also yours. Did you want to move it? Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Gallo, thank you. Go ahead.
So I'm just going to read from section 12, page 12. It's talking about the asset management plan. There's a 53.5 million of core infrastructure, roads, water, wastewater, stormwater, which are included in the asset management plan, but were not able to be fit into the 10-year capital plan. Sufficient funding is not available yet. So I think at this point we have to do things that we really have to do. This would be very nice, but it's certainly not necessary. We have other projects that could be done if this is removed.
Any other comments or questions? Call the vote. Oh. I'm sorry. Councillor Reese? Councillor Gaertner? Councillor Gaertner's yes. That's defeated. $7.8, Councillor Gallo, this one's yours. Did you want to move it?
I don't want to move that. I want the project to move forward, but I like,
You just have some questions.
I have some questions and I'd like a report back from staff
Okay.
based on my findings.
So I'll get you to put something. Can you just, how about you just move it as is right now, and then you can change it? Okay,
Sure.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Gilland, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you. So this project has some history, and I've spent quite a bit of time, so I know it quite well, and that's why. And I apologize if I missed some indication that I could have discussed this during the various departments' budgets. I missed that as well as others, I assume, or I would have asked it then. First off, as you know, myself and everyone else at this table, we rely heavily on staff reports and the accuracy of staff reports. In this case, while it's a budget document, it's very quick, 2 pages in this case. The information that's in here, we rely to make decisions, and it's even more important when the information is accurate when we're talking about spending people's money. This project, the tennis court reconstruction at David English Park, on the first page, it says that the last reconstruction was in 2008. As many of you may or may not remember, the actual courts were built in 2012. So clearly 2008 was not the last reconstruction. Not only was it built in 2008, but in 2019, we had a budget item of $20,000 to resurface the courts. So the last resurfacing was 2019. And maybe I'll just ask staff whether or not at least those 2 items are accurate before I continue.
Steenkamp?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I will apologize. That 2008 is a typo. Should have been 2018. Because that's when the last resurfacing, the request was. It actually didn't get completed till 2019, because as you remember, there was some questioning about it, and we came back with a conditional report to get approval in 2019 to do the resurfacing. And it was constructed in 2012 originally.
Councillor.
And the resurfacing through you, Mr. Mayor, was 2019. Although the request came in 2018, the resurfacing was 2019.
This is
Thank you.
correct, yes.
Yep. Go ahead, Councillor.
If we also go to the 2023 capital 10-year capital budget, it states that in 2025 we're to spend $36,200 on resurfacing the David English Park. I think in 2014 is when it first comes up as a total redo. And if we go to 2019, when the report came to council, it says, as a result, the tennis courts reconstruction would need to be completed in advance of a typical 20-year frequency. Costs associated with the reconstruction of the surface, including repairs and base, new asphalt and surface coating, are over $100,000. So in 2019, there was a request for $20,000 to resurface. We did it. Yet in 2025, we're asking for, we did that then, we followed the instructions in order to postpone a total reconstruction. And here we are in 2025, doing a total reconstruction. And as I mentioned, in 2023, there was no indication of a total reconstruction. Some 36,000 was put in the budget for a resurfacing. Needless to say, I've played on it. I think Councillor Kim has probably played on it as well. And I'm not suggesting that we don't do it. What I am suggesting is that we do our best to make the information that allows us to make decisions as accurate as possible. We got the date of reconstruction incorrect. We omitted when we actually did reconstruct it came in 2018, happened in 2019. We only had it in our 10-year capital plan to reconstruct the entire thing in the 2024 to 2026 10-year capital plan. That information is pretty valuable for us to make proper decisions. And I want it, and I'm sure all of you want it. And that's why I'd like to see, first off, a report to staff, to council, from staff to understand not only why these mistakes happen, they happen, but why this early reconstruction of a tennis court, significantly earlier than were planned, significantly earlier than our studies indicate, why we didn't catch it in the 2023 10-year capital plan. All of those questions should be answered. And I'd like to see a report back to council.
Any other comments, questions? Councillor Gallo, Councillor Gaertner.
Well, having been around for the whole story, it's rather shocking that we would be spending this much money so soon on this tennis court, and that we've apparently wasted the money that we spent in 2019. So I thank Councillor Gallo for bringing this forward. It's nobody's fault who's here. So, but it is rather disturbing. So I look forward to the report back. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other comments, questions? Clark? Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think if we go with council may recall the yellow light from previous capital budgets, conditionally approved with report back to council. We have a motion ready for that if Councillor Gallo and Councillor Gilland agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Call the vote. Councilor Gaertner? Nope, you went through. That carries. Councilor Gallo, next one, just like to move it.
An error in the selection of which one. It's actually the Thomas Coates, sorry, Norm Weller. Tennis courts, not the Thomas Coates. I have no issues with Thomas Coates.
Okay.
Coates,
Norman Weller. We'll fix it on the screen, but so Councilor Gallo, go ahead. So just move it as if it's the one for Norman Weller and we'll get it up on the screen. If I can get a seconder for that, and then I'll,
so
is there a
my
seconder?
oh.
One sec, sir. Seconder? Councilor Gillen, thank you. Go ahead. Hey, Councilor Gallo, go ahead.
So my question about this one is, the last reconstruction was again in 2008, which seems like a really long time. It doesn't exist in the 2023 capital plan. This project does not exist in the 2023 10-year capital plan. Notwithstanding, it was constructed and last refurbished in 2008. We first see it in the 2024 capital plan. Is there a reason for that?
Steenkamp?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, when we were reviewing the 10-year capital plan, we realized there was an omission of that court. So we placed it in the 2024 capital plan to capture it. And as it was near the end of its life cycle, that is why we're requesting the reconstruction.
Okay, and was the last reconstruction in 2008?
Steenkamp?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes.
Council?
So I guess the obvious question is how does this survive that long versus the previous one, such a short time frame?
Steenkamp?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, you may be confusing reconstruction, full reconstruction, and resurfacing. So tennis courts typically are resurfaced every 5 to 7 years. So that's stripping the paint layer or the plexi layer off the court, sometimes straightening posts, resetting the posts, filling any cracking, maybe some concrete work if the cracks are substantial, and leveling and filling any depressions where water may sit on a court. And then it's resurfaced again. So that's a resurfacing project. A full reconstruction is removing the asphalt base layer, doing any leveling, any drainage works that may be affecting that base layer, and then application of asphalt, and then the plexi-pave relining. So it's a full reconstruction when that occurs, and that occurs roughly every 18 to 20 years, just depending on the climate and the court condition.
Council?
Thank you. I am aware of the difference. My question is, how come we haven't done a resurfacing in 16 years versus other ones that in the reporting, the recommendations are between 4 and 8 years?
So it's through you, through you, Mr. Mayor, it was resurfaced. I don't have the exact date, but it probably would have been approximately 7 or 8 years ago. It would have been resurfaced.
Councilor?
So the full reconstruction was 2008, but in between there was other resurfacing.
That's correct.
Okay.
Councilor?
I wasn't able to find them, but I take your word that it was done. I was shocked to see it last that long without any work on it. I'm okay with the project going forward, Mr. Mayor.
So you'd like to withdraw that? So we'll withdraw the amendment. You okay with that? Yep, okay. Councillor Dallas, next one's yours. Would you like to move it?
Yes.
Seconder? Councillor Gaertner, go ahead. Sorry, Councillor Gallo, go ahead.
My question is, the significant increase in cost for the project. This is Marksbury Court and Gilbank Drive, correct? Yes.
Correct.
The costs have, just find it. The costs have gone from 3 million to $5.5 million. So $2.5 million over what we budgeted for, I assume in 2024 or 3. And the question is, how do we get the original costing for this so far off?
Instrumental.
So through you, Mayor, the biggest change here when the first project was identified, the water main rehab wasn't included. So the additional $2.5 million is includes the rehab of the old metallic water mains within those 4 streets. That's the biggest change to the capital budget. Again, when the original budget for the rehab of the roads was prepared a couple of years ago, it included total rehab, sewer work, etc., but left out the water main rehab. So staff last year revisited that and obviously thought it was prudent to include the water main rehab as part of the project. There's also an additional retaining wall that's included, but the majority of the price increase is the rehab of the water main.
Councillor.
So how do we, is there a program in place, something to be able to, when we're redoing all these, to capture all of the costs, including the water mains? How is it that such a large thing is missed, and what are we doing so that that doesn't happen in the future?
Mr. Romano.
Certainly, I think through you, Mr. Mayor, I think it's the philosophy of our new manager of engineering services that when it comes to rehabbing all the roads, upon assessment, that all the underground services should be included, being sewer, storm, and the water main. In this project a few years ago, when it was originally done, the water main wasn't included. But moving forward, I think our new manager, she did the opinion that when we are doing a rehab of a total road, it should include all the underground services, especially in this case when we have an old metallic water main.
Councillor.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Gallo.
Thank you. Since this new information has come to light, a question about that area, and I can't recall, but I believe Harmon and Murdoch are excluded from that. And there were some concerns from people in the community because we're pretty much refurbishing all the streets around, with the exception of these small little streets. And I don't know if that's affected by this development. What's the timeline? They've been asking, when's my road can be done? I know we get that a lot, but if we're going to be doing water mains and so forth and doing some extra stuff, I'm just curious as to why we wouldn't do it at the same time as opposed to 2-3 years down the road, then going down with heavy machinery again. And I was just hoping that maybe perhaps you could shed some light on that.
No.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So the detailed design and the public consultation has been completed specifically for just this project being the four streets, the Lacey, McLeod, Gilbank, and Marksbury. I'll have to double check, but those other roads obviously aren't due for rehab this year, but they may be on the books over the next couple of years. But this project, again, detailed design has been completed, and the public engagement has also been completed with the area residents, specifically for those 4 streets.
Councillor.
Great, thank you.
Cute. Councillor Gallo. Are we moving forward with this, or did you want to withdraw? Withdraw? Seconder, okay with that? Yeah. Councillor Gallo, next one. Would you like to move it? Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Thompson. Go ahead, Councillor Gallo.
So this is unplanned emergency repair contingency. And it says that the purpose of this request is to provide an envelope of funding to manage emergency and unexpected facility repairs, enabling quick, expedient response and repairs to buildings or equipment. Alternatively, reporting to council to request funds extending delay to the repair and interrupting in service. I'd like someone to be able to let me know when the last time, and it says the inability to deal in a timely manner with unexpected or premature building equipment and or components failure. When was the last time we ever experienced such a thing? I had a tough time digging in my memory of the 13 years on council that we ever experienced that, because I know there are contingencies that staff can use for emergency purposes. So this is new. Why do we have it? Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. This is something that we've been using, council approved, I think 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, we've had it in play. And it is a source of funding to do quick repairs, things that unexpectedly come along that we can do quite quickly. Things such as we lost the roof at the Salt Dome. We had to get that back on ASAP, timing wise, that was quite critical. We also had a failure of our pool liner prematurely. And so we had to get it done. Otherwise the pool would be out of commission for quite a long extended period of time. There are a few other things, pool dehumidifier overhaul, it failed instantly. We had to do some additional work. These are funds that are readily available and they're of a value of a threshold that are within staff's threshold to spend. If they're, and it's being pulled from reserve. So any unspent funds goes or stays in the reserve. So it's not funds that would be a new ask per se. It is funding that's sitting in a reserve, which is accessible to staff to be able to utilize this. This is not something that sits in our operating budget. It is coming from capital reserves.
Councillor.
So this has been there for 3 years?
Yes.
And
22.
And prior to this, what would we do? Come to council for approval of emergency repairs through you, sir?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that would be the case. Yes, we would have had to either come to council or we rush and be over budget. Or spend it out of operating and be over budget if it was something that was emergency. This just provides flexibility to be able to react more promptly, utilizing a reserve that's intended for repair, replacement of our assets. So instead of waiting for a council report, we can act on it more promptly and keeping our facilities operational versus out of commission.
Councillor.
So why does it indicate that it's a new capital project?
Ms. Mayor Van Kessel.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So what we do is with these capital projects for the unplanned repairs, they only last 1 year. So at the end of the year, the project, whether all the money or none of the money is spent, the project closes and a new one is open. So there's no ability for the funds to be carried forward from year to year to year and build up over time. It is only the set amount that year, every year.
Councillor.
So do we get any reporting of what was spent and what happens to the balance, if there's any?
Ms. Mayor Van Kessel.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So what is spent does get reported on the interim forecast reporting. So it is identified as one of the capital projects there. And if the funds are not spent, the funds remain in the facilities asset management reserve.
Councillor.
I'd like I think I'd like some type of reporting back to see either we put it as a operating expense if we feel like it's something necessary or some other way so it's not a reoccurring capital new project. It doesn't make sense to me if it's going to be here each and every year and we feel like it's necessary.
Sorry, Van Kessel.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So a lot of the repairs that happen of this nature can be considered capital betterments for the purpose of capital asset reporting, which is why it is included in the capital budget. The other piece is what we can start doing is through our interim forecast reports, we can put a section in the capital reporting section that identifies any funds spent on emergency repair budgets. And then that will satisfy the reporting requirements.
Council.
So, so if I understand correctly, the reason why it's these repairs would have to be deemed to be capital improvements, not repair and maintenance. And that's why this is reoccurring every year.
Swear, I think that's.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, that's correct. So for example, the repair on a roof, that's considered a betterment, the asset, the roof on the facility. So it actually impacts our tangible capital asset reporting. It's a lot easier for the town to actually complete all the capital asset reporting when it actually is contained within the capital budget, because otherwise things could get missed and then it could cause additional challenges in trying to track down the funds. But these things are very, very typically betterments to assets and have to have that evaluation from a capital asset reporting perspective.
Okay, thank
Council.
you. Thank you.
Mr. Thompson.
Thank you. You know, I'm supportive of the suggestion put forward by Mrs. Wainwright Van Kessel with regards to the reporting out. I think that in the past, we've seen capital closeout reports which identify the amount that was spent for this project and what was being returned, but not necessarily identifying the individual items. You know, it was great to hear from Mrs. McDougall, who sort of explained past projects. And I think that's a good piece of information for council to get, rather than just the dollar values. As suggested by Mrs. Wainwright Van Kessel, if it could just be included in that that capital report to identify X amount of dollars were spent on these projects, that would be helpful. That way, at least we know what is being spent.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Let's go with it. You'll remove it? Mr. Thompson, you okay with withdrawal? Okay. Councillor Gallo, next one. Do you want to move it? Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Gilliland. Go ahead, Councillor Gallo.
I guess again, the question of why the it's a previously approved 300,000, asking for another $250,000 for a total of 550,000 for town parking lot maintenance. Just an explanation of why the significant increase, and whether or not the next item that I pulled, the South Town Hall parking lot rehabilitation, was removed from the list of whatever is part of this this project.
Mr. Romano. Or do you want Ms. Steenkamp? Ms. Steenkamp, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, this involves both some engineering and operations. So this particular project is to deal with maintenance, routine maintenance, due to the condition of the parking lot. So this is ideally, this is curb work, this is catch basin work where it's sunken, it's cracks, it's maybe improved drainage, it's I think I already said curb work, but it's been all identified in a parking lot assessment study that was completed by engineering in 2021. So they rated the condition of the pavement, and that has been provided to operations to act on some of those things, to extend the life of the pavement within these parking lots. So it's routine maintenance. Previously, there has been no budget within operations to deal with parking lots. We have a roads budget to deal with road paving, maintenance, but we don't have one for parking lots. So any maintenance that was required for parking lots was coming out of the roads budget. And then it was taking away from the roads budget. So when this assessment was done in 2021 and the recommendations came through to complete some of these maintenance activities, operations created a capital project because of the number of poorly rated parking lots. And so last year was one of them. This year is another one. So it's dealing with different parking lots just based on that assessment.
Councillor.
I guess the question is why the significant increase of 250,000 from what was previously budgeted? Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Steenkamp?
So, sorry, just to clarify, what previously was budgeted
We had a previous budget of 300,000. We're
in
n-
2023 or 4?
Is this a multi-year project?
It is. So this is a project that we carry maintenance for different parking lots based on that assessment. There's different amounts for each year. We had in 300,000 a year. And this year we've reduced it at the request of finance, just to help with some funding. And so we've reduced it to 250.
Councillor?
I'm a little bit confused on the sheet. It says proposed capital budget authority is requesting 550,000. The previously approved budget is 300,000. So the proposed budget change is 250,000. And in the text, it says funding request for 2025 is the maintenance and repair of town-owned parking lots. So are we reducing it or are we adding?
Steenkamp?
It's nearly a 50% increase. That's why it was, should have a reason.
So approved within 2024 was 300,000. We're asking for an additional 250 in 2025 for a total of 550.
The councillor's question is why that increase?
The increase is based on the condition assessment study that recommends that certain parking lots be completed in 2025.
And when was that assessment done?
That assessment was done in 2021. And they did a townwide study on all the parking lots in town.
Councillor?
Okay, I mean, if I'd like to know a little more about that. If we can get even a quick report to better understand it, I'm happy with moving forward with it. I think it's needed. One of the texts that says there's a legitimate reason to approve the project based on the corporation's duty of care in providing for an sustainable municipal infrastructure, and that a very lengthy period of time the asset has been remained in poor condition. And I think you explained what we've done to fix that. I'm in support of fixing that. I'm in support of a program. I'm just a little unclear on the financing of it. If a report can come back to council, that would be great.
Steenkamp, can we get a report?
Yes, certainly we can provide a report.
Okay. Councillor Thompson, did you have anything to add?
Thank you. I share some of the confusion that Councillor Gallo is speaking to, in the sense that the previous project cost was based on a 21 assessment. And the assessment hasn't changed, but the cost has changed significantly. So yes, I would appreciate it as well. A report just coming back to clarify why the sudden increase year over year when both projects were based on the 21 assessment. So some additional information to provide clarity would be great.
Sure. But we have a report come back for project AM 0342. I missed, yeah. Okay, Councillor Weiss?
Yeah, my only question too on that report, or you can say it here. Could you give me an idea of the number of parking lots this refers to in
Steenkamp?
that report through you?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we can break down the full study.
Councillor, go ahead.
That's it.
That's it. Thank you. Just getting it up on the screen, councillors. Councillor Gallo? Good. Councillor Gallo? Good. Good. Yep. Thank you. Call the vote. That carries. Next one, Councillor Gallo. This one's the South Town Hall parking lot. Do you want to move that? Do you want to move that? Thank you, seconder. Councillor Weiss, go ahead, Councillor.
So first off, again, we have a previously approved budget of 150,000. We're increasing it by 600,000 to a total of 750,000. And it says in the notes, funding request for 2025 is for construction of the project, which makes sense. Probably did some design work for 150,000. The rest is for the construction of the project, which is the south parking lot. If we read the details of the sheet in our budget, it says this funding request is for the design of the rehabilitation of the south parking lot and walkway services identified as requests requiring rehabilitation in the town's municipal parking lot management plan. The design will also include a luminary study for the parking lot lighting improvements for the senior center. So there's obviously, if this is a reconstruction of the south parking lot, then that makes sense. If it's a design, then it doesn't really make sense to you, Mr. Mayor.
Three, Mr. Mayor. No, you're right, Council Gallo. So the $150,000 was for the design. So the additional ask of 600,000 is to complete the construction. So it's to repave, shave and pave, repave, fix the pavers, retaining walls, and the additional lighting. We've heard concerns from the seniors regarding the effectiveness of the light. So the additional 600,000 is for the actual repair work, new paving, fixing the pavers, retaining walls, and the additional lights or new LED lights.
Council.
So just again, my issue is the text that I'm told in a budget document is not what we're actually doing, and they need to be accurate. I'm basing my decisions on what I read in these budget reports, in the documents, and it's really not my responsibility to dig and analyze and look at both. They should be clear and concise. We're spending, this is a $250,000 project, and we really need to strive for accuracy in them. So I'm happy to move the project forward. I'll remove the.
I'll just go to Councillor Thompson first, and then I'll come back to Councillor Thompson. Go ahead.
Thank you. Through to Mr. Muno, just as a follow-up question, have we already spent funds towards the design that was allocated?
Mr. Muno.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we are in the middle of the design.
Councillor.
Thank you.
Councillor Gallo. Withdraw.
Councillor Gaertner.
Oh, Councillor Gaertner, go ahead.
Through you. When we're doing these projects, does the design and the work include the effects that climate change is going to have on the effects that climate change is going to have the freeze thaw cycles?
Stronach.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, that's a part of the staff's assessment with any of these road rehab projects.
Thank you.
Councillor Gallo, withdraw. Councillor Weiss, you okay with that? Thank you. Councillor Gallo, next one. Would you like to move it? Thank you. Seconder. Mr. Gaertner. Councillor Gallo, go ahead.
So this is the HVAC technician. We did get I think we all got a copy of, yes, everybody got a copy of kind of an explanation. I had asked for some more details around this position. And there's basically, I was asking what the cost of material was, not just the labor component. And we're told it's around $10,000 a year. So ultimately we'd be saving about $20,000. I believe there's a lot of estimates that are being made in order to achieve this. One of the things that is missing is all of the maintenance to the town square, which is not included in this. I'm told the individual could accomplish all of that. I have over 10 years experience in dealing with maintenance of exactly the same equipment. And we never went the route of hiring an in-house person. We did it for many other positions because it merits them. This is one of those positions that I don't believe merits that. And I'm not convinced that one person is going to be able to achieve all of that. If you add in also the equipment for Aurora Town Square, I'd be open to some contract position to test it out. But if I was a hazard to guess, if we were to go down this route, you could see another capital item coming back with another individual to take care of all that equipment. So I won't be in support of this.
Any other comments, questions? Call the vote. Carries. Confirming bylaw. Someone like to move that. Councillor Weiss, Councillor Gillen. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Kim, Councillor Thompson, all those in favor? Opposed? That carries.